Geek Philosophy. On today's video, we're going to talk about the superhero that paved the way for parenting in the superhero community. And that is DC's #1 icon character, Batman, aka Bruce Wayne. Now, Bruce Wayne, or Batman, has had several children fight along his crusade as part of the Bat family, but there are 4 children that come to mind that really took up the mantle and was considered his sons. And we're going to talk about the 4 Robins that had played a part in his publication history. With that being said, we're not going to talk about Stephanie Brown. I think I'm going to do another video on her, just the rise and fall of Stephanie Brown, because she has a really interesting story in itself. And we're not going to talk about Duke Thomas, as he's still new, wasn't officially a Robin, but he doesn't have enough publication history yet. So we're going to talk about Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne. With that being said, there's a lot of history on each one of these characters, so we're probably going to go ahead and make this a 2-part video. So the first part, we'll talk about the 2 oldest sons, Dick and Jason. With that being said, what we want to do is really dig into the history and also look into what they personify from Batman and what they really inherited. As you know, with father and son relationships, you inherit certain things, either whether it's wealth, it can be ideology, belief, and sometimes it's personality traits. And I feel like these 4 sons that he had picked up something from it and personified it even more. So why don't we just go ahead and take a look at it. Let's first start talking about the first Robin, Dick Grayson, who started back in 1940 and was the original creation of Bob Kane and Bill Fingers, the original creators of Batman. Now, the whole reason behind starting Robin was actually a marketing scheme that make Batman more kid-friendly. When he first came on the scene, he was in straight black and gray attire, pointy ears, and it was more of a vampire figure versus a superhero. Even though he was a detective, he was a billionaire, and he had all these resources, he wasn't that readable to children. So what Bob and Bill did was they decided to change a couple things about him. One of the things they changed was they changed the color scheme of Batman to the light blue and gray and black scheme, which we're used to seeing in the Adam West days. Also, what was changed was they added a sidekick, which was Robin, the Boy Wonder. Now, Robin was, the reason they picked Robin was because it was a little bit more of an homage to Robin Hood, and also Robin wings are pretty much the closest wing shape to the bat. So there were reasons behind Robin. And the colorful nature behind the red-breasted Robin brought a little bit more humorous to the Batman comics. Also, what happened is it skyrocketed sales because kids were able to relate a little bit more, and now they were able to put themselves in the story as personifying themselves as Robin. But nevertheless, Dick Grayson was the first Robin, and just like Batman, he does have a tragic story to begin with, losing his parents because of mafia dealings, and then being adopted or a ward of Bruce Wayne. After Bruce Wayne took him in, he was able to train him and became the first Robin. Now, Dick was had a little bit easier time adjusting to the role, especially with his training from acrobatics. So he was a natural born fighter and was really agile, quick, and some things that Batman wasn't at the time. But that calls for different dynamics for Robin to be either saved or Robin to do the saving. So it was a great partnership and a great showing of how the first sidekick really was. With that being said, Dick Grayson really took on the mantle for 40 years in publication history. He didn't get out of the Robin role until 1984. And that's when he took on the mantle of Nightwing. And the way he did that, there's plenty of retcons on how he left. One says Batman fired him. One said, he just grew out of it and said, I'm not going to be Robin anymore. But with all the retcons, I believe with his personality, it was him believing in his own choice and making way to be his own superhero instead of being in the shadow of Batman as Robin, his sidekick. So some say one retcon stated that he actually got the name Nightwing from Superman because there was a Batman-like character in the old days of Krypton named Nightwing, and his partner was Flamebird. So if you ever wonder why you see those names pop up, that's where it comes from. It comes from Kryptonian history. But Nightwing was a great name for Dick Grayson to take over the mantle, and he really starts skyrocketing in popularity when he became his own. And one of the reasons why he was able to do it is because of one of the things that he inherited from Bruce, our Batman, which was his sense of justice. That's what made, and if you don't know what justice means just being fair and righteous. So the great thing about Nightwing, it made that sense of, nobility and being right and righteous really helped him show how to be a leader. One of the great teams that he did lead was the Teen Titans, and they followed him through thick and thin because they always felt like he was right, he was fair. This also helped him become a more stable superhero. When he first moved out of Gotham and went to Blue Haven, he started as a cop so he can get a sense of working with the police officers instead of working as just a vigilante. So some of the things just in that personification was a great thing that he inherited from Batman, and which makes him somewhat the more popular sometimes than Batman himself. So that being said, he inherited injustice, which was great, but there were some other traits that he inherited from Batman that wasn't so great. One of them was tragic love stories. As morally right and righteous as Nightwing was, when it came to ladies, he wasn't that fair. With that being said, he had some tragic love stories, especially with Barbara Gordon and Starfire. Barbara Gordon was the original Batgirl, and Starfire was a member of the Teen Titans when he was on the team. So with those aspects being, him having tragic love stories, he got some of that from Bruce Wayne's Playboy days. Even though Bruce Wayne used that more of a show to show the world that he's not Batman because he's dating all these women, Nightwing used that more as a crutch. He dated more in the superhero community, which caused problems for his love life. So, as fair and just as he wasn't that with the ladies. After we just talked about some of the things that Nightwing inherited, let's go on to the second Robin, which is Jason Todd. Jason Todd came out in 1983 in his first publication in Batman Comics, and he didn't put on the suit right away. At first, he was just a kid that Batman met in Crime Alley, and it's actually funny. The way he met him was because Batman had the Batmobile in Crime Alley and jacked his wheels off of it. First criminal to ever do that to the Batmobile, which impressed Batman. And Batman saw as a sign, like, hey, you were able to do this, you were skillful, I meet you in Crime Alley where my parents died. You know what? He was a little hesitant, but he took him in. And as taking him in, he brought him in as Robin, and he finally put on the mantle of Robin in 1984. Now, Jason Todd was not the same as Dick Grayson. Even though originally they tried to make his backstory the same and making his family trapeze artists, they rechanged it after Crisis on Infinite Earth and tweaked it to where his parents were, not criminals, but they struggled through low economy in Crime Alley, which left him being orphaned. But nevertheless, Batman took him in, and he was a lot more aggressive and arrogant than the old Dick was when he was Robin, which caused a little bit of problems. But it wasn't just problems with him and Batman, it was problems with the readers too. Some of the readers didn't take kindly to the new Robin. Now, some of that is they just like Dick. He was the first Robin. You don't change something that's been working for 40 years. And the other was he just wasn't as charismatic as Dick was. So they actually gave the readers a choice on whether to keep Jason Todd as Robin again. And they did that in a storyline called Batman Death in the Family. Now, what they did was they allowed the readers to vote and determine if Jason would live through this story or not. And the votes were cast. Unfortunately, Jason didn't make it. He lost by 77 votes, I think. And please, if I'm wrong, go ahead and write that in the comments because I'm pretty sure someone will catch that. But nevertheless, he was killed off in Death in the Family by the Joker with a crowbar and an exploding building. And this hurt Batman tremendously. It was able to do a lot of great stories after that. How it humanized him from the thought of endangering a child or a minor. From there, didn't really trust the ideas of having a sidekick anymore. Went solo completely. But back in 2006, I want to say, they brought Jason Todd back because, again, that was one of Batman's greatest failures, letting Jason Todd die. And now they brought him back as a reminder. And he came back as the Red Hood. Now, the Red Hood in the story was called All Under the Red Hood, which is a great story. I do have a link down below if you want to check that out. But it was a story that really pushed Batman's feelings. Not just feelings, but his paranoia, and also pushed what he was doing with his rogue gallery. One of the things that Jason quotes to him is, I thought it would be different. I don't understand why Joker is still alive. After what he did to me, he should be dead. And Batman said, I could have killed him so many times, but that's too easy. So that's just one of the things that you really get to question. Well, all these villains in your rogue gallery kill people, and they always escape from jail. Is it morally right to just go ahead and kill them off right away to save more? And the moral compass in Batman says no. But for Jason, what he inherited was vengeance. And vengeance is really just retribution, keeping the scales balanced, an eye for an eye. Now, Batman does have that to a degree. You don't see it as often because of the moral compass. He doesn't kill, but he does cause harm and wants to get vengeance for people that have suffered. And that's what the Red Hood really personifies, and what he inherited from Bruce is keeping the scales balanced and doing an eye for an eye, which also makes him a great anti-hero nowadays. The other thing that Red Hood inherited from Batman was the personification of his rage. Now, Batman is more seen as a brooding, calm, collective character, but deep down there is a lot of rage that is needed to fight crime in Gotham every night. So with that being said, him being the personification of rage, you really see it in Red Hood's early days after being resurrected in 2016, from Under the Red Hood all the way until Battle of the Crow, where he was fighting to take Batman's spot. But nonetheless, all these elements actually make him a great anti-hero and helped him rise to popularity, especially after the last couple of years, starting with the New 52 and even into now as we see him in Young Justice and Injustice 2 and so forth. And a lot of people are looking for him in more guest appearances in a lot of DC properties. For example, Young Justice Season 3 is going to be coming out called The Outsiders. There's a big petition out there saying, hey, we want Jason Todd, Red Hood there. Especially after seeing clips and images of him passed away in the last season, in Season 2. But I think this is where we're going to go ahead and wrap up this first part of the video. I'm going to come back in a couple days with a part 2 where we talk about Tim Drake and Damian Wayne. All right, everyone. That's it. If you have any thoughts, please go ahead and write down in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and also hit that subscribe button so you can be notified of any videos that come up in the future, especially part 2 of this one. Also, down below, I put a description of the most influential stories for these two characters, Nightwing and Red Hood. All right? Please, if you want to read more about it, please take a look at it. And also, check out my social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Links down below. All right, everyone. Have a great day. From Greek philosophy, the geek way of thinking.